Welcome to today's session on family and multi-generational travel. Now, this type of travel is the top trending travel styles among Canadians, and it represents a whopping 30% of the leisure travel market. So some of the main motivators of family travel are to have children discover new places and have new experiences. To enhance the bonds, of course, between family members. And with today's fast-paced life, travel is a perfect way to gather loved ones together for a landmark celebration, reunion, anniversary, birthdays. It's also a time to carve out for parent-child bonding. And families tend to view travel as an important educational tool, immersing them in different cultures, bringing classroom lessons alive, and shaping global citizens. I know in my experience, one of my first trips to Europe was when I was 15, and for me, that really opened up my eyes to the world. It taught me small things like about pickpocketing and watching your belongings. It taught me how to manage to be on a plane for 15 hours. Um, and it really taught me a lot that I was able to bring back and share with my friends. And it also did actually start a passion of travel. Was that young trip that I took, or a trip that I took when I was only 15 years old. I saw things that people can only dream of, including, the Louvre and the Mona Lisa and the Versailles, and I even saw Jim Morrison's grave, and of course the Arc de Triomphe and the Eiffel Tower. So it truly, families perceive family travel as a really important educational tool, and immersing them in different cultures. So the main influencer of family travel, they say upon research, is Generation Z. So Generation Z is between 1997 and born between 1997 and the 210. So this decade that we're in right now. So they're approximately between 2 and 23 years old. So this is who influences family travel. They currently account Generation Z for 22% of the population. They have a buying power of $44 million, just this generation, the 2 to 23 year olds. And they will account for 40% of consumers by 2020. They also say this is the I generation. They're tech savvy. They haven't known anything different at all. Um, they were mostly raised by Generation Xers. They grew up during a recession, so they're kind of familiar with perhaps budgeting and money saving and being really careful. Like they said, they're focused on saving money. They can tend to be pragmatic. They're mobile natives, like I said, they don't know any different. And they prefer brands that feel authentic, and they prefer social media. They prefer Snapchat and Instagram. It's actually been said that Generation Z influences their parents and can convince them to play and plan for a whole trip together. So they're really the influencers of family travel. What they want matters to their parents in a holiday and a vacation. So 5 different ways that Generation Z influences family travel. They really want to get involved in the planning of the trips themselves. Um, they influence others' travel choices by a word of mouth, social media, and reviews. So they also are watching what's online, and they see things and then research even further. They said that YouTube, and I think we'll get this in another slide, is like their main source of social media, and that can definitely influence the planning of the trips and where they want to go. They really crave active experiences, unique destinations, and they look for visual destinations and experiences on social media, like I just said. So they really want to see what it's all about, so that they can talk about it and involve themselves in the planning with their parents. What we've also heard is that when they tell their parents they don't need their inheritance and would rather experience the world with them instead, the parents also get really influenced that way. So I think an assumption when anyone hears family travel is that standard trip to Disney or a Disney cruise or something like that. But it goes way beyond that multi-generational travel and family travel goes way beyond Disney and theme parks. It's definitely a huge part of it and important, but it does go beyond just Disney, and we'll learn about that in the next couple of slides. So here's just a funny picture of a multi-generational family and everybody's little needs and wants in trying to plan. So, you know, this little girl gets seasick, someone hates nature, light sleeper, heavy snorer, allergic to the sun, loves the beach, he's vegan, he loves to hike, she has bad needs, this little guy needs or girl needs constant supervision. So it's a very, very dynamic market in multi-generational travel. So just some ideas of family travel. Of course, here's a typical Disney trip. Theme parks. So we have California theme parks as well as in Orlando, and then of course everything in between as well. A lot of Canadian cities have theme parks as well as down in the United States, which is also something I think it's every parent's dream to take their kid to Disneyland at a time when they're old enough to know what it is. And I know it was for my parents, and it is for my parents for when their little baby grandbaby Ella is old enough to appreciate Disney. And my sister has already started mentioning Disney. I think it's a signature token trip. But it goes way beyond that. So multi-generational and family travel. Food and wine. Food is always a common denominator for all generations. So in this photo, they're somewhere in Europe and did, you know, some cooking classes and wine tastings as well. And you can see definitely that there's multi-generations involved here in this trip. So it's very, the culinary scene can also be considered family and multi-generational travel. Of course, there's also adventure travel as well, and adventure can be for every age. There also is adventure for those that may be mobilely impaired or disabled. There is options out there for everyone. So this is a nice group photo of 3 generations traveling together. It looks like they might have been on an ocean or sea expedition, and you can see all those icebergs there as well. Of course, activities are really huge. So you can see here family kayaking in the beautiful turquoise waters. So that's something else that family and multi-generational travelers really value, is the activities that they can also do on their holidays. So a kind of a subset of multi-generational travel is called skip gen travel, and it's the grandparent grandchild only trips. So 61% in a recent survey were interested in traveling alone with their grandchildren, and then 32% have taken grandchildren on a skip gen trip. So this a personal experience for me, every summer my nana would take us away for I think 1 or 2 weeks. I think it gave my parents a break to allow them to do what they needed to do without the kids around, but also this was a really important and impactful time in me and my sister's life, because we got to spend so much close time with my nana, either touring the island in British Columbia here, Vancouver Island, or we'd go up to the Okanagan. So trips within our own province, but five hours away or so. And a lot of lifetime memories I have from my childhood, I still remember because of those skip generation trips. So we're starting to see that more as the baby boomers are retiring and have more money on their hands, and also are really focusing on those bonds with their children. So multi-generational travel, of course, is 3 generations. So grandma, grandpa, mom and dad, and then grandchildren. And then skip gen is grandparents with grandchild. So they skip the parents and have a bonding trip together. So we're seeing more popularity in this type of travel as well. Of course, seeing the sights is also very important to family travel and multi-generational travel, and that can be anything from, I believe this is a geyser somewhere or a hot spring, to, you know, sightseeing through the United States, or even, you know, as unique places as the pyramids in Africa per se. So really seeing the sights is also something that families want to involve their children in. Of course, family reunions is also huge. So having families spread out across the country, we're starting to see a rise in that. And of course, with a lot of our local tour operators that we have, can accommodate family reunions simply or similar, I should say, to weddings in the sense that everyone can come from their different gateways. So from, Halifax to Vancouver and anywhere in between and meet somewhere common and have a family reunion that way. So we're starting to see a trend in family reunion travel as well. Of course, unique experiences. So here, this is a cattle ranch, or where it involves horse riding and going and riding through the meadows. So unique experiences like that aren't the everyday family travel we're starting to see a pickup in that as well. Just something out of the ordinary, not the everyday common trip. People are wanting unique experiences as well. And then of course, beach holidays, this is very standard. So many options within the Caribbean and Mexico. It's very, very easy to sell a beach vacation. There's a lot of choice for family-friendly resorts, kids clubs, kids travel free. So very, very common is beach holidays, of course. And here you can see grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, and 3 kids for a nice family trip. Cultural immersion is also, as we talked about in one of the previous slides, is also really, really important to them. So definitely seeing a rise in trips that also involve cultural immersion. We've heard of those families. I think there's one out of Vancouver actually that sold their house, quit their jobs, took their life savings, and took their kids on a round the world trip for a whole year, and felt that that was more important and more educational for that family bond, but also the experience of traveling, the responsibilities of traveling, living out of a suitcase, experiencing different cultures from around the world. So definitely seeing a rise in that. Now so for 2019, the top 10 family trip trends, of course, adventure trips rose to #1 from second place last year. Multi-generational trips, of course, are the overall trend in Virtuoso's 2019 Lux report. Skip Den travel, which we talked about, is also part of that sector, where grandparents are really eager to educate and explore and leave lasting legacy with their grandchildren, where their working parents stay behind back home, which is kind of what I told you from my personal experience. So Sun and Sand travel falls a bit into third place, but it still remains popular, as we talked about. Mother-daughter trips, father-son trips, we've talked about cultural, ocean cruising, educational trips, of course, and that can even include volunteer trips or educational trips as well. And then river cruises, we're starting to see more and more of. There are certain lines that do allow children as well, at a certain age, I believe. I think that you have to be 4 or older, but again, different suppliers would be able to tell that to you. So those are the top 10 family trip trends. So you can see a wide variety. It's not just theme parks. Celebration travel we talked about as well. So grandma and grandpa want to do a 50th wedding anniversary trip, and they want the whole family to come, and they have the disposable income to be able to do that. And then bonding trips. Mother and daughter is something I've always done with my mom. She traveled with me to one of my really good friends' destination weddings. So we've traveled together for that. We did a mom and daughter trip to Hawaii together, and we did a mom and daughter trip to LA together as well, where we toured around like little tourists in Hollywood. So really, really a variety of different trends within family travel. And I just want to hit home that family is not just Disney. And Disney is a huge part of it. It's a really important part, I think, for most people, but it does go beyond the theme parks. 2019 top 10 hottest family destinations. So Italy has remained the family favorite for 10 years in a row, and Europe's overall appeal is really strong. England, France, all that. And then families looking to unwind in warm weather destinations are heading to Mexico, Hawaii, and the Dominican Republic. I personally love Mexico, and we'll talk about this in destination training as well, but Mexico is so unique because it's so different on different coasts. There's so many different cultures, from the Mayan culture on the East Coast in the Yucatan, and then what you find over on the West Coast, and even the diversity of landscapes. So, you know, you have desert on the West Coast, and then you have like the lush jungles and waterfalls of Puerto Vallarta. And I just love Mexico. The service standards are really high. There's a lot for families. There's a lot of choices in resorts. There's a lot of, you know, safety's kind of increased a lot. Tourism dollars mean a lot to the country, and so they invest in safety of the tourists. And then Hawaii, I also love. It's a really special place. It's still in the United States, but you feel like you're in a different world. What else can I say? Orlando, of course, is up there because of the theme parks. And then following the line with adventure travel trends, families are voyaging to destinations noted for active experiences like South Africa. There's so much to do over there, and Costa Rica as well. So some unconventional, quote unquote, family travel destinations. Seeking unusual places, as we've talked about, is a Gen Z, like Generation Z priority. So it's no surprise that families are searching for lesser known and more remote parts of the world. So pristine places like Iceland, which has topped this category actually for the last 3 years, the Galapagos Islands, and Antarctica, which is like what I call like beyond the beaten path. So there's certain areas that are like the beaten path. You know, you can travel and find as much information and be super comfortable. And then outside of the beaten path are new and upcoming trends like Antarctica. The desire for authenticity and keeping cultural interactions is driving families for places like Cuba, which of course is unique compared to some of the other Caribbean destinations because of its history. Bhutan. It also appears well-traveled families are moving beyond tried and true spots to experience Asia and Africa, with 6 of the top 10 unconventional destinations within those continents. So really focus maybe your product knowledge and training on these unconventional family travel destinations as well. Okay, so some other trends that we see here, shorter vacations, 1 weeks are common. A huge thing to consider is that summer, school holidays, winter vacations are a very, very popular time to travel. Most book within 3 months of travel. From one report I used, only 20% use travel agents. So let's try to get that up, guys. It's all about education. There is a perception vacations are unaffordable, so agents really need to address value for money. And then affordability is key. Families need to be shown value in products, services, and what is available to them. So yeah. And then just a little infographic here. Top 5 considerations when booking family travel. It's the cost, the safety of accommodation, attractions and activities, facilities, and the distance, so how long it takes to get to that destination. So that all also depends on the family dynamics. Do you have a newborn or a 2-year-old that couldn't sit for 20 hours on a flight, you know, to Asia versus maybe teenagers that can definitely do that. So what do travelers look forward to on most family trips? I know it's really hard to see, but it's trying new things, relaxation and time to unwind. Of course, we talked about the number 1 is quality time with family, getting away from the routine, and I would like to say social mobile devices, and then exploring new cultures, which is all the same trends that we've already talked about. Duration of global family trips. So the large, like we talked about, percentage is 4 to 7 nights, but depending, I believe, on the destination, you can see upwards of 12 to 14 as well. And then the little 1 to 3 nights were more likely local or within your own country, or the bordering provinces, or sorry, within your own province or state, or bordering ones as well. So it really, really, I think, depends also on the style of trip and where you're going as well. Multi-generational travel, 40%, 7% of those asked were planned to take a multi-generational family trip within a year. So 98% of multi-generational family travelers are highly satisfied, so they're happy with their trips. What does that mean? Repeat business. 85% of travelers are planning to take another trip within the 12 months. And again, we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but I don't know about you, but when I'm on a trip, I'm already planning my next one. So this is a huge thing. If they're happy with your service and what you've booked, ask them when they're going again and how you can help. And again, we've talked about this already, so why multi-generational family trips are popular. It brings the entire family together, building fond memories and spending time with grandkids. And we've talked about a lot of this already. So just talking about global Generation Z travelers, 84% said social media is influential, and budget is a consideration. And that goes back to them growing up in the recession of 2008-9, kind of leading into 10. Social media, so getting back to social media, travel, they look at travel pictures by friends or experts, and travel videos, like we talked about. YouTube is huge for this generation, so definitely videos. We've already talked about the leisure priorities, but trip activities, once in a lifetime or bucket list experiences, cultural experiences. So if you can target to this market in your advertising, you leave it to them, the Generation Zers, as we talked about, to basically convince their parents or grandparents to pay for the entire trip. And let's just move on to the next slide. So marketing for family and multi-generational travel. So for Generation Z, who are the influencers and who try to convince their parents on what decisions to make and as far as family travel. So Facebook is used primarily by teens for keeping tabs on extended family and acquaintances. Instagram is less about keeping a personal photo journal and more about sharing interesting visual life moments. Twitter is a place to stay informed and follow trusted digital curators of culture and information. And then Snapchat is more for a private mode for communication to share silly or candid moments with their inner circle of friends. So living in a virtual world of the Generation Z, they again are the I generation, quote unquote iPhone generation, but they spend an average of 10 hours a week online. I would say it's actually more than that. 26% are active on Google Plus, so you'll start to see reviews from all of them on there. 81% of Generation Z spend a lot of time on social media. 93% of Generation Z say they visit YouTube at least once a week, and 54% of those visit the site multiple times throughout the day. 29% of Gen Zs think Facebook isn't cool anymore, but I think that's just because of Snapchat and all those other apps that are out there as well. But it's not to say that Facebook still isn't a really great way to start marketing. And 17% are active on Instagram. And then, like I said, 56% regularly use brief anonymous messaging apps such as Snapchat. So some social media tips here. Now, I snagged this from one of our agents in family travel, and I just love her posts, and I'll tell you why in a second. But use visual imagery, destinations, and experiences. So here, Jennifer had posted a trip to Royalton in, I believe it's the Mayan, but she posted pictures of what the resort looked like on the outside, from above, probably by a drone, as well as what the rooms look like, and also a kids kind of activity pool area as well. So what she had did, and which I love, is that she named the hotel, the Royalton Riviera Cancun, put the star, used emojis for the stars, advertised that it was Christmas in Mexico, so that's a huge thing for families that want to escape. Family of 5 with 3 children, age 12 and under, is $990.85, and then it just goes. So she's priced it out, family of 4, family of 3, so they don't need to calculate per person and what's going on. It's all there for them. This is crazy. $6,000 for a trip during Christmas to Mexico. And then she puts make it a family vacation and bring the grandparents or aunts and uncles. So, and her call to action is to call her directly. So use visual imagery, destinations, and experiences promote all-in pricing for family when you're doing something like this. Also in your social media, promote the trips you've planned for other families. So you don't need to use their names. Like I've just booked this for Jane Smith, John Smith, and little baby Smith. But like, just book this awesome trip for this amazing family, la la la, and post photos. And you might start getting some interest of how much. Or, oh, I want to go away. What can you sell me? Also advertise experience. So anything that you've experienced on fam trips or personal trips, make sure you put on there. And then also focus on trends. So what is trending? We talked about the destinations that are trending and the styles of travel that are trending. And let people know what's available out there for them. Some people have no idea, and all they know is a Mexico all-inclusive or a trip to Disneyland. There's so much more out there that might fit into budgets. And as I said, as the baby boomers grow and retire, their disposable and spending income for these trips is a lot higher. So there is a huge opportunity for this market. Some other marketing tips and advice, start selling early and give time for family discussions to get the product they want. Like if they want joining rooms or they want some special room that has a loft for their family of 6 and there's not that many rooms available. So they get the best products that they want at the best price. So we recommend around Thanksgiving for spring, summer. So if you started to do ads or do postings around Thanksgiving, people are going to see that. And then when they're sitting at the table or having their family gatherings, it might spark a conversation and somebody might be ready to book for spring or summer holidays. Canada Labor Day, even Easter for winter. So start promoting the winter getaways, the Christmas getaways. Easter would be a good time when people come together and celebrate as well. And then also, you know, on other standard holidays as well. Now, it doesn't mean you need to focus your advertising around those holidays, but just that timestamp. If you think about when people and families are together and available to discuss trips, if you can focus your advertising around times when you know people will be getting together, it might trigger that. And then focus on school holidays and breaks, especially for those in elementary, high school, and even university. Know your local school holidays, check with the school boards. They'll usually have it online and they post it in the spring for the following year. And remind your clients of the breaks and do plan ahead for the best possible price. And then reminders in advance for specific holidays are also a great way to help your family clients think ahead, since people with busy lives sometimes forget to make plans. So they'd like kind of go, oh shoot, we didn't book our summer holiday or our Christmas vacation or reading break or spring break or whatever. So also reminding people of what's coming up and how you can help. And then networking. So think about your networks, and we have done this in a previous module, but the schools, teachers, parents, communities, organizations you belong to, events, your friends and family. So ensure that everyone knows what business you're in. So promote the skills you've gained from planning trips for other clients in your own family's travels, and talk about this experience in your online profile, social media, and marketing. Some tips for gaining new clients, especially if you're kind of outside of, say, kids in school, teachers, parents, networks and packs and stuff like that. Little random things like wearing branded merchandise, use bags from vendors when shopping. It might start a conversation in the checkout line. Posting flyers on community boards, leaving brochures with the label or cards, your business cards in waiting rooms. What about your doctor's office? What about the waiting room at the hair salon, the nail salon? Distributing your business card, writing a brief letter to neighbors, letting them know what you do and that you'd be happy to meet with them and discuss their travel plans. All that kind of stuff is all part of networking and trying to gain new clients in this style of travel. And then for your existing clients, just remember to always ask for referrals. These are your bread and butter. We've talked about referrals, or we will be talking about referrals, I should say, in a future training seminar. But always ask for them. Ask for them from your family and your friends, but also your existing clients. Just let them know you'd be happy to plan their friends or their family's trips just as you've planned theirs. And then when your existing clients come back from a trip that they're on and you follow up with them and you're welcome home, remind them to plan their next trip upon their return. You can't wait to help them with their next trip, or I have some ideas for you, or ask them how it was and would you want to return and do this annually, or should I suggest some other destinations, but kind of get the bug in their ear that you're eager to start planning their next trip upon their return. And then also with your existing clients that you book on a regular basis, planning recurring trips annually. So like if they travel spring break with the kids, and then in the summer they travel somewhere local or within Canada, but have that set or talk to them about planning them and planning them annually. So you kind of constantly have bookings rotating on the books for them, and that they know that you have their best interest for planning travel on time, and so that they can get everything that they need. And then you'll just start to see your business start to grow, because as you start planning recurring trips, your referrals might start to grow as well, and of course your repeat business. Well, thank you very much for taking this time to learn a little bit about family and multi-generational travel. I hope this was very informative and that you have a wonderful day.